All right, and Gabby?
A long, long time ago, I was a nurse. And since moving to Spain, I have been teaching English as a foreign language. But I've switched into doing that part-time now and try as much as I can to write, which the last 3 years has been very slow.
All right, and Wendy?
I'm a bit the same as Michelle. It's always hard to explain. So I mostly work in employment law, but I do that for a large public service trade union. I won't name it. Um, and so basically I mostly work with NHS Glasgow, representing people just with workplace issues, equalities issues, bullying, harassment, different things like that.
All right, next question, and I'm going to ask people in the reverse order because I'm aware now that we might be we might end up with people just ending up being last all the time, and I'm like, okay, let's swap it up. But next question, would love to know which of your favorite books is which of your own books is your favorite, and none of this, it's impossible, like choosing your favorite child business. So Wendy first this time, which of your books is your favorite?
Um, I suppose I have to say Four Steps. I have to say my debut. Um, I was writing that. There was kind of no pressure writing that because I never in a million years thought it would actually be published. I was just kind of writing it um, as a hobby, and then it sat on my computer for quite a long time before I eventually sent it off anywhere. So yeah, it was just a really enjoyable book to write. I really took my time over it. So I fell in love with all the characters. Yeah, so I would say I don't think it is that hard actually to pick. I think everyone secretly has a little favorite. So I would say Four Steps.
All right, Gabby, what's your favorite book that you've written?
I would probably say Who'd Have Thought, because just because it was such a silly idea, and I really didn't think I was going to get anywhere with it. I kind of panicked at Nano when I was doing NaNoWriMo, and I was 4 days in with an idea that I just trashed, and I had no idea what to do. So I just chose the most ridiculous idea I could just so I could finish Nano, and it worked somehow. And so I don't know, it was so much fun to write and just so silly in the base of its idea that I'm quite surprised that it was liked, because the idea is absurd, but
all right, and for any listeners, I know I've had this a couple of times where I've said it, and I'm like, everybody knows what this is. NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, which happens in November. The aim is to write 50,000 words in the month. Again, I know when I've been talking about it this month, and I've had a few people be like, what's that? And I'm like, there are people who don't know what NaNoWriMo is. All right, Jen, you're up for which of your books is your favorite?
Currently, so I'm on my 6th book, kind of, even though I've only had 3 released so far. But the one that I'm releasing in February, which is called Sing for My Baby, at the moment, that's my favourite. It's cute. There's a baby in it, clearly. There's a pregnancy, there's a birth, there's a few characters in it that were in Hooked on You as well, which is quite cute. I like kind of connecting books. Which I did a little bit with my last one, Reasons to Heal. I had a couple of characters from that in The Word Shimmer. So I'm doing the opposite and going for my first book rather than my second. So yeah, Sing for My Baby at the moment, out in February. That's currently my favourite book because it's too cute.
Nice. Julie, what's your favourite book that you've written?
This is really hard. It's really hard. The books that make me laugh the most are books that I probably can't mention because I wrote them under a pseudonym. But I did write a series of erotic novels about people having sex with robots. And those still make me laugh. Like every time I even think about them, they really make me laugh. The pseudonym was Electra Shepherd. But my favorite book under my own name is maybe my last book, which is called The Two Lives of Louis and Louise. And it's a dual narrative story, the same person in two realities. And in one reality, the protagonist was born cisgender male, and in one reality the protagonist was born cisgender female, and because of that different gender, everything about their lives is different, and that to me was great. It was to write, it was like almost like a social experiment in book form, but I set it in my hometown, and so it became very, very personal to me. So I think that book has a lot of my heart in it.
Nice. Chris, what's your favorite book you've written?
I only wrote 2, so it shouldn't be hard to choose, but it is. I think my second, Heart Failure, it's I really struggled writing it because one of the main characters is in the beginning not a nice person, and she has to grow, and I kind of didn't like her at the beginning when I wrote her, but at the end I fell in love with her. So when I went back to rewrite it, I tried to put my love for my character back into the book, and so I bonded with it more than the first book.
Nice. Yeah, it always sometimes takes a while to get to really like get, but those are sometimes the best characters, the ones where it's like you're so difficult and I hate you, but then we fall in love with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michelle, which is your favorite?
Yeah,
one?
I think it's a hard one. Like Wendy, I had a book that I've only published 2, and the first book I wrote it years in bits, bits of it for years, and it just made me so proud to have it published and to see it finished and put into a book and made into proper shape when I finally took the time to do it. So I can't not choose that one. Yeah, it was hard to edit it. It was very long. It was probably kind of dreadful, but I managed to kick it into shape. I like it a lot, actually. Yeah.
Nice. And then Arizona, which is your favorite book?
Oof. I think that's a really hard question, and I think it's clever that the person said you can't be like it's your favorite child thing. But for me, I think currently I'm working on a sequel in the series, and it's like The Case of the Night Mark. And I'm not sure if I love this book because the characters are fun or because I got to put a hellhound in. And this was before I got my dog, and I was like scrolling on Facebook and everywhere, looking at all the cute puppies and dogs and just bringing the wishes and into the story and just writing lots of cute dog interactions and everything. And now I have a dog, and now it's even more fun to write it in. So I think that's like one of the best things about it.
Oh, that is adorable. All right, Kitty, what's your favorite book?
I think it's the second in my Tarbot Witches series. It's The Women in the Storm, and I like that because I sort of expanded more on the world that they were living in, expanded more on their relationship, and it sort of brought in more characters that gave me ideas for going further with more books in the series. So I think that one sort of made me think a lot, and it's set in my hometown as well. And some of it's set in my favourite coffee shop, so quite like that as well.
All right, and Terry?
I think it must be the second one in the trilogy, Back for Home, because I felt like I was a proper author then instead of someone just playing at it. Because the first one I wrote in 1988, and it stayed in a drawer for 25 years before I even thought about it. And so, yeah, Back for Good. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. Yeah, that's mine.
All right, next question will only apply to a few people. So show of hands, so I know who to ask. Who has pets? All right, I think start with Gabby. What kind of pet have you got?
I have 3 cats, which is probably too many based on other people's opinions. And some people tell me I should get more. So it's an ongoing. My stepson, we like to tease him that we're getting another one. And the look of horror on his face every time we say we might try for 4 is highly entertaining. But yeah, so I have 3 cats that I thought would be here, but are apparently sleeping.
All right, Arizona, you've already spoken a bit about your puppy.
Yeah, so as mentioned before, I've recently got a dog. And when I say recently, it's been since June, so it's not that recent. but it still feels very new. We rehomed him, and he's so cute. But he's downstairs right now, being all nice and quiet with his toy. But I wish I was here so I could cuddle him.
All right, show of hands again, just so I don't. Yeah. So Jen, you first.
So I have old lady dog whisper, who's she's a lurcher cross, big stripy brown thing. I have so she's like nearly 11. I have we still call him a puppy even though he's not. He's like 16 months, 17 months old. He's called Cooper, and he's a Sprockador, so a Springer Cocker Lab, and he is mental, being a Sprockador. And we have a cat who's a rescue. I've had her for 10 and a bit years, or nearly 10 years. And she's a mixture of loads of different cats, I reckon, because she's got like tabby bits and torty bits, and yeah, so she's a bit of a mixture, and she's constantly bringing in interesting things like mice and voles and shrews, and that makes the puppy bark, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, we've sorted it out. They're all sleeping in the kitchen apart from the cat at the moment, so that seems to work.
And Julie, what kind of pet have you got?
I have a dog called Meg. She is a rescue, and we did a DNA test on her last year as my Christmas present. And it turns out she's mostly, one parent was mostly collie, border collie, and one parent was mostly Parsons Terrier, which is the big Jack Russells. She looks like a sort of Jack Russell, wiry Jack Russell, but stretched to collie size. And she's super clever. She's probably the smartest one in the family, and she's definitely the fittest one in the family. She loves to run and chase balls and play with other dogs and bark. She barks a lot.
All right. Okay, next question. Lauren asks, how has your experience of writing Lesfic changed your lives? Again, for everyone. So I think I'm going to, again, start with Terry, back to the original order.
Okay. How has it changed my life? I don't really know, because I think I'm a little bit more confident in actually putting words down on paper. Even though I was a teacher in my proper job, I was a maths teacher, and so I didn't really have to write much. So now, yeah, I have confidence in being able to be me, really, just be me, and be able to put my experiences down on paper. Yeah, I think that's about right. Yeah.
All right. Kitty, same question.
I think it just made me a bit more confident in my writing, getting published, and I think meeting other people who had similar interests, because you don't realise how many people enjoy reading and writing Lesfic until you get involved in all this, and there's so many groups, and I think just meeting other people who liked the same stuff has been really, really interesting, and that's probably what's changed my life a bit. Traveling about to different events and meeting people, it's been really, really good.
Arizona?
For me, I'm not sure like if it's been a big change, because I used to do lots of Lesfic reading, and I think for me the biggest like accomplishment I got from writing it was to give some back and put my own stories out there, and the ones that I wish I could be reading, and I guess introduce people to like these pairings and show them that the stories are just the same and that love can look like this, and kind of add to this this small thing and make it bigger. And I think that brings like a big sense of achievement for me, and I think that's just a really nice thing. And then to meet all those people that are doing it as well, and kind of feel part of this, like it's almost kind of like an inside secret that we're making public, and I think that's just really fun.
All right, Michelle.
Yeah, I mean, it's early days for me, I suppose. It's changing my life. I published the first book at the start of the pandemic, which was excellent timing. So I was looking forward to all those events and the community and meeting people. And I mean, Zoom is wonderful, but I haven't been able to get out there. I hope that next year maybe I'll be able to meet a few more people. But it's given me like an online life with readers and writers that I didn't have before. It's made me less ashamed of how romantic I am. I used to sort of do it in secret slightly. My partner was not at all romantic, so I used to read these books and watch these films and feel a bit guilty. And now I'm out and proud. I mean, a ridiculously romantic person. So it has been really good for me. I don't try and hide it anymore. So yeah.
All right, Chris, same question.
Yeah, everything that's been said before is kind of true for me too. My first in-person event where I met authors and readers, I hadn't written a book yet, and I already felt part of the community, so that changed me a lot. And then I decided to try my hand at writing, and it kind of made me more open to meet new people inside of this community, to connect with them on a certain level. Maybe because I feel I have an entrance ticket now, I don't know, but I'm a shy, introverted person. So yeah, that was one aspect of my life that changed. And what everyone else said, more confidence, more being me, being more out as a romantic person, that's all true too. Yeah.
All right, and Julie.
Yeah, I've been trying to think about how to answer this. I've only come out pretty recently, and I've only started writing fiction about women loving women under my own name fairly recently. I was writing it under pseudonyms before. And so I think it has changed my life quite a bit, because it corresponded with me being more visibly bisexual. And also, I'm a vice president of the Romantic Novelists Association, which is an association I joined back when I was writing straight romance for Mills and Boon. And we founded the Rainbow chapter for writers of LGBTQ plus fiction and people who want to write that. And starting that chapter and writing this sort of fiction has really introduced me to just phenomenal people, really amazing people, and new communities that have really enriched my life. So I'm glad of this change.
All right, Jen, same question.
I don't know whether it was the same event, Chris, but Elcon, I didn't have a book out and I had a stall, and it was very strange. And I was there with all my, because I crochet clearly a lot. I was there with all my like crochet stuff and chatting to people and just being part of this like big community thing that I didn't even know existed. I think like that was the moment, you know, when I was kind of like, oh my God, this is different for me now. And I've got nerve damage in my face, which I got about 7 years ago. So a couple of years ago, or maybe can't remember how many years ago Elcon was. Like I kind of got into this sort of a little bit of a rut, and because talking for me is quite difficult, and all I was really doing was like working in crochet, and then I started writing stuff and got stuff published, and it was just like, whoa, okay, there's another part of me that I can use to express, you know, the things that are in my head. So yeah, that's me.
All right, and Gabby.
I'm going to have to mimic everybody else, because I published my first book about a year after I'd moved to Spain. And in Australia, where I lived, I had a really great queer community and really supportive and really fun. And I moved to Spain almost accidentally and felt really disconnected from that. And then I published my first book and started going to some events, and it was the same. It was that community feeling, and I met a lot of really amazing friends, and it kind of brought me a whole community that wasn't even based in Spain, but that I wouldn't have had without, I don't know, publishing that book and getting involved in it all. And the other way is that I can work anywhere, which is great. I like being able to write on a plane or not write on a plane. It's fantastic.
And Wendy, last one for this question.
It's a problem when you go last, see. Yeah, I just reiterate, I think every single thing all the others have said. I think all the amazing people that I've met in the various events I've been to online and in person, made some great friends. I think it's kind of enabled me to maybe show a side of myself that people hadn't seen before. I very much wrote my first book in secret. There was 2 or 3 people I told, and it was like, oh, you're writing a book, are you? You know, like, how many times do you hear that from people? So then to actually get one published, it's people are kind of like, oh, okay, you wrote a book. You know, so it's a great thing to be able to share with people now, my family and colleagues and friends and stuff. I mean, otherwise I always dread getting in a taxi, because when a taxi driver inevitably says, what do you do for a living? And when you live in Glasgow and you tell them you work for a union, it can be quite a controversial subject. So, I mean, it's changed my life in that now I can tell taxi drivers I'm an author, and it's a lot safer conversation.
All right. Okay, for the next few questions, because obviously we've got a lot of people and people are asking questions for everyone, and it's like we're only going to end up asking like 5 questions by the end if we keep having everyone answer. So I'm going to ask the question, and then I'm going to see who wants to answer. And yeah, I mean, I think the next one, or actually, yeah, so this one, Lauren asked, what has been the most fulfilling memory you have since you started writing? So has anyone got anything? Yeah, Michelle?
Happy to, yeah. I was just thinking, I think someone else reminded me of it. The book that I wrote, I let my friend who I used to work with read it before it was published. And she reads a lot of romance. She's married. She's been married for about 20 years. And I met her in Pret-a-Manger in 7 in the morning before she went to work. And I was dreading it because she was one of the first people that had read it. And I thought that she might tell me it was rubbish. And she said to me, it's not only a good book, but you made me realize that I've probably been a lesbian my whole life. And it was just the most amazing memory. She's still with her husband. She's not left him. I don't think it was 100% serious as a comment. But I think I just felt that sort of outtake of breath, that she liked the book and it had moved her. There's a sort of story in it about a woman who's struggling with her sexuality, who's married. So it probably did press some buttons. But I was really happy with that memory. I think the first time you show a full book to someone or let them read it is kind of very exposing. So it was fun.
All right, is anyone else?
I tease her about it constantly, by the way. Constantly, yeah.
All right, Wendy?
I'd say for me, it was not long after 4 Steps came out. It was nominated by Diva for like a crime book award, which I was pretty delighted about just in itself. But I think it was the fact that I was actually in the same category and nominated alongside Val McDermid, who, if you know who she is, she's a huge Scottish crime writer. And I literally grew up reading like all of her books for years and years. So to suddenly see my name like in the Guardian, you know, next to Val was quite a big wow moment. And then I realized, oh my God, I get to go to this event and I get to meet her as well. So, and inevitably Val won the award, but like I couldn't be upset at losing to her. And there's a photo of, I got to meet her afterwards, and there's a photo of us together, and my face is just like in like utter shock. I was really annoyed with myself because I want to show people this picture all the time, but then I see my face, I'm like, oh God. Just completely starstruck, and it was such a good event all round as well. I met some amazing people there. I met Gabby there, who's now a good friend, and so yeah, it was that was awesome all around, I would say.
All right, I think I'll just move on to the next question. And again, this one's only going to be applicable to a couple of people. So hands up if this applies to you. Did any of you do a qualification /MA/PhD in creative writing? Just nope, we are all self-taught here.
I did a module I did theatre studies at uni, and I did a module in creative writing, which was clearly script writing, and I got a really, really rubbish mark because the guy that was marking it didn't like me. He said it was too. It was basically like an ensemble thing about a young girl kind of coming out, and it was set in a bar and stuff. And the professor who was marking it said it was too much like the L Word, which was interesting because I'd never watched it. So I was a bit annoyed with that. He also gave me a really bad mark for my sound design module as well, so I was not happy. But yes, that's literally and English A level and stuff, but nothing specific.
I mean, that still beats out my GCSEs. All right.
I did something, not a kind of really at a university, but I don't know if anyone knows the GCLS, the Golden Crown Literary Society. It's a American society for lesbian authors, readers, or women loving women, whatever. So they have a writing academy, and there was for 1 year I took the course, and it really, really helped me to get all the basics and quite of understanding about how to write a book, not just to start writing and end somewhere. And we got a lot of connections to the people in the Lesfic world, so that was really helpful. They're doing it every year, so if some readers are interested or potential writers.
Okay, Addison asks, how do you write without distractions? Do you have a favorite space or listen to music? Does anyone want to answer that one? Okay, Arizona.
I think the answer is that there is no writing without distractions. I think for me, at least, I call it the zone, and sometimes I can get in it with like the right music and like trying to just turn off all social media and putting my phone away and everything. But honestly, I can get distracted by my hands. I can get distracted by this spot on the wall. I can get distracted by the thoughts in my head or another book. So I think sometimes it's kind of like just sitting down and hoping that you'll get there and trying to block out the distractions by kind of just making yourself not look at anything else and trying to just think of your book. But for me personally, I don't really know if there's anyone here that can actually say that there is writing without distractions. Not sure if that's actually a thing.
Gabby, did you raise your hand as well?
Only basically to say the same thing, that almost impossible to write without distractions. But this last 2 years, I've learned to incorporate my distractions. And so I get quite obsessive with video games. And I was playing a farming simulator called Stardew Valley. It's very cool if you like computer games. And so I would reward myself if I wrote 500 words, I was allowed to complete a day cycle in the game. And then the second the day cycle ended, I went back and wrote 500 words. And so I incorporated my own distraction, which worked for a good 3 days. That helped.
Nice. I am a terrible one more turn person, especially in Stardew Valley. It's like, oh no, but the harvest is ready tomorrow. Like, what? I want to play tomorrow, and then I can buy the group, and then I can
I need to make wine. I really have to make my wine.
All right, Terry, did you?
Yeah, because I talked, I did all my lesson plans on my laptop watching the telly, and so I've just continued in that way. I got the telly on, my wife next door to me watching the telly or whatever, and I just type, and then if something catches my eye on the telly, I watch telly for a little while, then I go back to writing. And so I can't do it without distractions. I've got to have distractions to be able to write, and then I'll just shut myself off, continue typing, then back into the real world again, and it just continues a cycle like that.
Yeah, I mean, if it looks like I'm constantly spinning around, it's because I've got 2 monitors, and one of them is the typing monitor and one of them is the YouTube background noise monitor. So I definitely get having TV on and stuff in the background and while you try to work. All right, next question is, Catherine asks, how much do you find you have to know about / have experience with what you write about? Another one from, yeah, okay. Sorry, I was started reading another question. So yeah, how much do you find you have to know about what you're writing about? Who wants to answer? All right, Michelle, because
I just wanted to say that the book that I've got out in a couple of weeks is set in Miami, and it's two members of a girl band who had a thing back in the day and then meet many years later. And it might surprise you to know that I've never been to Miami, and I've never been in a girl band. So I'm hoping I've pulled it off. It was a lot of fun to write, actually, and I think it's a nice book. So I don't think you have to. I think it helps, but I don't think you have to. I mean, I do know a lot about girl bands, far too much, really. But I've definitely never been to Miami. But I researched a lot about pastries in the Cuban pastries. So I want to go now just to eat the pastries. But yeah, I don't think it's essential.
All right, Julie, did you also raise your hand?
Yeah, because I just wrote a historical novel, and I found very quickly that there's no way you can know everything about 1858 when you're writing a book about 1858. It was that otherwise I just would have got overwhelmed by research. But the thing is that usually my advice to authors is always to write the story first and do the research after and just fill it in, because otherwise you'll get distracted by, you know, all the great stuff about what happened in 1858 that you can't put in the book, but it's really cool and you spend ages. But it completely bit me on the butt with this book, because my book is about ghost photography. And so in order to describe it well, I wrote the story, and then I realized that I needed to learn how to take wet plate Victorian photography. So I took a course on how to do it. This guy taught me how to do it, which was fascinating and wonderful. But as I was taking this course, I was asking him, okay, so I really need this plot point to happen. This is one of the most important plot points in the book. And I need to know how it fits with how you take wet plate collodion photography. And the instructor said, no, you can't do it. It wouldn't work. And I was like, I freaked out. My entire plot was completely invalid because I had done my research too late. So I had to rejig my entire plot. And actually, in the end, it turned out okay. The book was better for it. But now I'm very wary of not at least doing the fundamentals of research before I plot my novels.
All right. I think we're down to, we're about ready to wrap up. So I think there are still questions that people have asked, but obviously we don't really have time to get to them. So if anyone here who's been on the panel wants to go into the Facebook Live feed and look at the questions, if there's any that you want to answer that are in the chat, then so I guess is it time for us to properly wrap up, Jen? Is it time for us to go? I think you're in charge of shutting it down, so we will be back soon, everyone.